In the stillness before the great flood, when the heavens whispered secrets to mankind, a hidden city pulsed between invisible veils. Armada, a celestial fortress, stood in the heart of eternity. Its towers gleamed with condensed light, echoing the songs of angels. Created by divine hands and constructed by the very angels sent to guide humanity, this city didn't rest upon the earth, but floated in realms beyond our sight. It was a sanctuary, where heaven and earth met, a place where prophecies were quietly whispered to the righteous. But what if the gates of this secret city, sealed by the Archangel Michael himself, were trembling, ready to reveal its judgment or redemption to a world on the brink? Armada was not merely a city. It was a reflection of divine glory, a sacred space created for the Watchers, the angels who were entrusted to observe humanity without interfering. According to the Book of Enoch, these celestial beings were not to alter the course of man's fate, but to protect the balance between good and evil. Armada stood as their sanctuary, a place where they could interpret the divine will. Yet in a tragic twist, the light of Armada was dimmed. The Watchers, seduced by the beauty of the earthly realm, crossed forbidden boundaries. They created the Nephilim, giants who wreaked havoc on the world. Why would God allow such a city to exist, only for it to fall into corruption? The answer lies in the freedom granted to the angels, a gift that mirrors humanity's own freedom in the Garden of Eden. As the city trembled with the weight of the Watchers' rebellion, its gates were sealed. But as history unfolds, we see signs, ancient and modern, that the veil surrounding Armada is thinning. Visions, dreams, eclipses, each whispering the same message. The time for Armada's reawakening is near. Join us now on a journey through the secrets of Armada. From its divine creation to its fall, from its sealing to the signs of its return. It is a journey that reveals the eternal struggle between justice and mercy, and the promise of redemption in the face of sin. Will you be ready when the veil is lifted? If you knew that a city built by angels still exists and will be reborn at the end of times, what would you do? Could you sense its signs today, in the everyday life you lead, amidst the humdrum of modern existence? What if I told you that this city, long hidden in the veil between heaven and earth, was not only real, but holds the key to understanding the divine plan for humanity? How would you prepare for its return? In this video, we'll uncover the mysteries of Armada, an ancient city created by angels, designed not for man's eyes, but for celestial beings. From its creation as a reflection of divine glory to its tragic fall when the angels betrayed their purpose, and from the sealing of this sacred city to the subtle signs that point to its imminent reawakening. The journey we embark on today is not just about a lost city. It's a story of divine justice, mercy, and redemption. Armada, a city not built on earthly soil but suspended in the spiritual realm beyond human perception, is a place of profound beauty and celestial significance. Imagine, if you will, a city where the very pillars are made of light, where the gardens bloom not with earthly flowers, but with divine energy, responsive to the will of the Creator. Its streets shimmer and its towers pulse with the harmony of heaven. A city designed by divine hands, created as a sanctuary for the angels, an oasis between worlds. It is a city that mirrors the sacred Jerusalem, a place of eternal significance, described in the Book of Revelation. The parallels between Jerusalem, the city of God, and Armada are unmistakable. Both are celestial cities, not bound by earthly geography, but existing in a dimension that connects heaven with the earth. Jerusalem, in the Bible, is described as the holy city where God's presence dwells, and Armada too was created as a place where divine glory could be fully realized. Both cities carry the sacred mission of bridging the gap between the human and the divine, the temporal and the eternal. Armada was never meant to be a city of human hands, but a divine reflection of the harmony that exists in the mind of God. Just as Jerusalem is the heart of the new heaven and new earth, Armada was designed as a celestial sanctuary for the watchers, the angels who were tasked with observing humanity without interfering. Their role was not to meddle with human affairs, but to protect the balance between good and evil, to ensure that humanity had the freedom to choose its path. Armada, created as a place of eternal beauty and divine order, stood as the perfect reflection of this cosmic balance. The angels, as described in the Book of Enoch, were given the responsibility of guiding humanity, offering whispers of divine wisdom, but never directly intervening. Armada, floating between the spiritual realms, served as their sacred space where they could meditate, reflect, and interpret the divine will. The columns of the city were like the columns of heaven itself, rising up to meet the firmament, creating a direct link between the heavenly and earthly planes. The gardens of Armada were not just symbolic. They were living beings, conscious in their response to divine intention, guided by cherubim and other celestial beings, their flowers blooming in perfect harmony with the will of God. Yet, the beauty of Armada was not to last. The Watchers, despite being gifted with such a sanctuary, faltered in their mission. They too were given the gift of freedom, the same freedom granted to humankind in the Garden of Eden. It was this very freedom that led to their downfall. Just as Adam and Eve in the garden were tempted by the fruit of knowledge, the Watchers were drawn to the beauty of humanity. They crossed the divine line and took human wives, creating the Nephilim, giants whose presence on earth would lead to devastation and corruption. Why would God allow such a city to exist only for it to fall into corruption? The answer lies in the very nature of freedom. God gave the angels the same freedom he gave to mankind. In the garden, freedom to choose was what made Adam and Eve's choice so meaningful. But with freedom comes responsibility. The Watchers' fall was not a result of some divine oversight. It was the consequence of the freedom they were granted. Just as humanity has the free will to choose right from wrong, so too did the angels. And it was this very freedom that caused them to overstep their boundaries and fall from grace. This tragic turn of events led to the sealing of Armada. The city that once gleamed with divine glory, resonated with the songs of angels and reflected the harmony of heaven, was now tainted by the rebellion of the Watchers. The portals that connected heaven and earth were closed. The towers that once shone with divine light grew dim. Armada was sealed, hidden between worlds, locked away in a dimensional rift that only the righteous would someday enter. But the story does not end in defeat. The sealing of Armada was not an act of destruction. It was an act of preservation. The divine plan continued, and even in the depths of the fall, there was the promise of redemption. Armada, though hidden, remained a beacon of hope. Just as the Garden of Eden was closed after the fall of man, Armada too would remain a symbol of divine justice and mercy. The promise was made that it would one day be revealed again, in the fullness of time, to fulfill its purpose as a celestial judgment and sanctuary. In the present day, we begin to see signs that the veil over Armada is thinning. Eclipses, strange visions, and dreams shared by people across the world all point to the same message. The time of its return is drawing near. These signs are not mere coincidences. They are part of the divine plan unfolding before our very eyes. Just as the prophets of old warned of signs in the heavens before the coming of the Lord, so too are we being warned of the reawakening of Armada. The question then becomes, are we ready for this moment? Will we recognize the signs when they come? Just as the Israelites were instructed to watch for the signs of their deliverance, so too must we be vigilant. Armada, though hidden, calls to us through these signs. It beckons us to prepare our hearts for its return. Its reawakening will not be a mere historical event. It will be a spiritual awakening, a call to the faithful to remember the promises of God and to live in accordance with His will. Armada is not just a city of the past. It is a reminder of the eternal struggle between good and evil, a reflection of the balance that exists in the heart of creation. Just as Jerusalem represents the eternal city of God, Armada stands as a symbol of divine justice and mercy, waiting for the appointed time to return. And when it does, it will not only be a place of judgment, it will be a place of redemption, where the faithful will find refuge and the wicked will face the consequences of their choices. As we move forward in this journey, let us keep our eyes open to the signs that surround us. Let us be like the watchers, but unlike them in one crucial way. Let us remember our responsibility. Let us stay true to our calling, and let us never lose sight of the divine plan that unfolds before us. Just as Armada was a place where heaven and earth met, so too must we meet God in our hearts, ready for the time when the veil is lifted and the city of light reveals itself once again. The return of Armada will be a moment of profound significance, one that calls us to reflect on our own lives and the choices we make. Just as the Watchers failed in their mission, so too are we given the freedom to choose. And in the end, it is that choice that will determine our fate in the divine plan. So let us prepare our hearts for the return of Armada. Let us heed the signs, live with purpose, and walk in the light of divine justice and mercy. Now, as we continue this journey, let us delve deeper into the secrets of Armada and uncover the mysteries that await us. As we dive deeper into the celestial story of Armada, we must first reflect on the sacred commandment entrusted to the Watchers, the angels placed in charge of observing humanity. These beings were not mere servants, nor passive observers. They were sent to fulfill a divine purpose, a task that carried with it the weight of responsibility. Their mission was clear: to guide humanity, to offer gentle whispers of divine wisdom, and to protect the sacred balance between good and evil without interference. But in their pursuit of their mission, something went terribly wrong. The Watchers were granted freedom. Just as humanity was given free will in the Garden of Eden, the angels too were given the choice to remain faithful to their divine calling or to stray from it. This freedom was a divine gift, one that allowed them to exercise their will in alignment with the Creator's intentions. However, as the Book of Enoch tells us, it was this same freedom that led them astray. The temptation and fall. The Watchers, though powerful and divine in their nature, were not immune to the allure of temptation. They were drawn to the beauty of the daughters of men, an attraction that stirred their hearts and clouded their judgment. The freedom they had been given, though a gift, became the very thing that led to their downfall. Led by the angel Semjasa, they made a pact, a secret oath to descend to earth, abandoning their divine role as Watchers to instead become active participants in human affairs. In their desire to interact with the daughters of men, the Watchers broke the sacred law of heaven. They descended to earth, taking human wives, and from this union, the Nephilim were born, giants whose strength and power wreaked havoc on the earth. The once harmonious balance between heaven and earth began to crumble. The divine order was shattered, and the celestial city of Armada, created as a reflection of the Creator's glory, became tainted by the actions of the very beings who were meant to protect it. From light to darkness. This moment of betrayal marks the beginning of the Watchers' tragic fall. What had once been a city of light, of divine harmony, became a city marred by the darkness of rebellion. The very beings who were meant to uphold the will of God were now choosing their own desires over divine command. The act of taking human wives was not simply a transgression, it was an act of rebellion, a direct defiance of the Creator's will. The consequences of this disobedience were catastrophic. The Nephilim, born of this union, were powerful but destructive, and their violence spread across the earth. The book of Genesis paints a picture of this corruption, stating that the earth was corrupt before God, filled with violence. The purity of creation was compromised, and the balance that had once existed between the spiritual and physical worlds was shattered. The once brilliant city of Armada, which had been a shining beacon of divine order and beauty, now stood in a state of ruin. Its lights flickered, its towers no longer resonating with celestial music. Instead, they became silent witnesses to the betrayal that had occurred within its walls. The angels, who had once walked in harmony with the divine, were now lost in their own disobedience. But even in the midst of this darkness, there was hope. The fall of the Watchers and the subsequent corruption of Armada were not the final chapter. God, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, would not allow the consequences of this rebellion to go unchecked. Armada, though tainted, would not be destroyed. Instead, it would be sealed, hidden between realms, waiting for the day when it would be revealed once again. The fall as a reflection of humanity. The story of the Watchers is not just one of celestial beings and divine laws. It is a reflection of the struggles faced by humanity. Like the Watchers, we are given the gift of freedom, and with it comes the responsibility to choose wisely. The temptation to stray from the path of righteousness is ever present, and it is easy to be lured by the beauty of the world around us. The Watchers were not so different from us. They were given a choice, just as we are every day. The lesson here is clear. Freedom, though a gift, carries with it the weight of responsibility. Just as the Watchers fell when they abandoned their divine mission, so too do we fall when we choose our desires over the will of God. But there is hope, even in the darkest of times. The sealing of Armada was not an act of finality, it was a preparation for redemption. Just as God sealed the gates of the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve's fall, so too did he preserve Armada for a time when it would serve a greater purpose. As we move forward in our exploration of Armada and the fall of the Watchers, we must remember this. The story of their descent from light to darkness is not just a tale of angels, it is a reminder of the choices we make in our own lives. Just as the Watchers' disobedience led to destruction, so too can our choices lead us astray. But just as Armada remains hidden, awaiting the day of its revelation, so too does God's mercy remain, offering us the opportunity for redemption. The fall of the Watchers is not the end of the story, it is only the beginning. And as we delve deeper into the mysteries of Armada, we will see that even in the face of great darkness, there is always a path toward light. The return of Armada will not only be a time of judgment, it will be a time of redemption, a time when the city of light will once again shine with the glory of God. As we continue this journey, let us reflect on the lessons of the Watchers. Let us consider the choices we make, the freedom we are given, and the responsibility that comes with it. May we walk in the light, avoiding the temptation to fall into darkness. And may we prepare ourselves for the day when the gates of Armada will be opened once more. As we continue our journey through the celestial mysteries of Armada, we must now turn our attention to the sealing of this once brilliant city and the signs that whisper of its impending awakening. Armada, though shrouded in the darkness of rebellion, was not forgotten by the divine. Just as the Garden of Eden was closed off to mankind after the fall, so too was Armada sealed. but not destroyed. There was a purpose in this sealing, a divine reason that even in its hidden state, Armada would remain a symbol of both judgment and hope. The gates of this sacred city would not remain closed forever, and the time for its reawakening is drawing near. The sealing of Armada. In the aftermath of the Watchers' rebellion, when the city was tainted by their disobedience and the creation of the Nephilim, the Archangel Michael was entrusted with a divine task: to seal Armada, keeping it hidden between realms. This sealing was not an act of destruction, but an act of preservation. God, in his infinite wisdom, chose to protect Armada from further corruption. He hid it in a dimensional rift, a space that existed beyond human perception, beyond time itself. This sealing was not permanent. The city, though hidden, was not abandoned. Its essence, its purpose, remained intact. Armada would wait, patiently, for the time when it would be revealed once again. This moment, however, would not come in an ordinary way. Just as the earth waited for the return of Christ, so too would the universe wait for the moment when the veil over Armada would be lifted, revealing the sacred city once again. The sealing of Armada is a powerful reminder that even in moments of despair, God's plan is not thwarted. The city's sealing echoes the theme found throughout the Bible, that even in the face of sin and rebellion, there is always the potential for redemption. Armada, like the world itself, was not forsaken, but preserved for a future time when its true purpose would be revealed. It was hidden, but not forgotten. Signs of awakening. For centuries, Armada remained sealed, its gates closed to the world. But as we move through the corridors of time, we begin to see signs, subtle whispers in the heavens and on earth, that the veil over this sacred city is thinning. These signs are not just coincidences. They are divinely orchestrated indicators that the time of Armada's awakening is near. In recent years, we have witnessed unusual phenomena, eclipses, strange celestial events, and dreams that seem to echo the same message. Something ancient and powerful is stirring. People across the world, from mystics to ordinary individuals, have experienced visions and dreams of a city made of light, floating between the realms, its gates glowing with a soft, divine radiance. These visions are not mere fantasies. They are part of the divine message, pointing us to the reawakening of Armada. Just as the Bible speaks of signs in the heavens before the return of Christ, so too does the reawakening of Armada carry with it a series of celestial signs. These events are not just to be observed, they are to be understood. They are calls to action, calls to prepare our hearts for the great event that is coming. Like the prophets of old, we must heed these signs and look beyond the surface of our daily lives to understand what God is revealing to us. The significance of Armada's awakening. The return of Armada will not be just a physical event, it will be a spiritual one. Just as the city was once a place where heaven and earth met, it will be again, a place where the divine and the human will once more intersect. Armada's reawakening will be a moment of profound significance, a time when the balance between good and evil will be brought into sharp focus. But what does this mean for us, as individuals living in the world today? The awakening of Armada will serve as a divine reminder of God's sovereignty. It will be a time when the righteous will see the fulfillment of God's promises, and the wicked will face the consequences of their choices. The city, once a symbol of divine harmony, will again serve as a place of judgment, a place where the faithful will find refuge, and those who have chosen darkness will be confronted with the truth. In this moment, we will all be called to examine our lives. Just as the Watchers were given the choice between obedience and rebellion, so too are we given the freedom to choose between light and darkness. The awakening of Armada will be a time of reckoning, but also a time of grace. For those who choose the path of righteousness, the return of Armada will bring a message of hope and restoration. For those who have turned away from the divine, it will be a time of judgment, a moment to reflect on the choices that have led them away from God. Preparing for the awakening. The question now becomes, how should we prepare for the return of Armada? The signs are clear, the time is near, but preparation is not just about watching the heavens for celestial events. It is about preparing our hearts, our spirits, and our lives for the divine truth that will soon be revealed. In the Bible, we are told to be vigilant, to watch for the signs of the coming of the Lord. Just as the Israelites were instructed to prepare for the coming of the Messiah, so too must we prepare for the return of Armada. We must examine our lives, repent of our sins, and align our hearts with God's will. The reawakening of Armada is not a passive event. It is an invitation to join in God's divine plan. The reawakening of Armada will be a moment of great significance, but it will also be a moment of great responsibility. Those who are faithful will be called to witness the glory of God's divine justice and mercy, while those who have chosen the path of darkness will face the consequences of their actions. As the gates of Armada prepare to open once more, let us be ready, spiritually, mentally, and physically, to embrace the divine plan that is unfolding before us. Conclusion. The sealing of Armada and its forthcoming awakening are not just ancient prophecies, they are part of the divine narrative that is unfolding in our time. As we witness the signs, let us reflect on the deeper meaning of these events. Let us remember that even in the darkest of times, God's plan is always moving forward. Armada's return will not only be a physical event, but a spiritual awakening that calls us to examine our hearts, to choose the path of righteousness, and to prepare for the ultimate fulfillment of God's promise. As we wait for the veil to lift, let us be vigilant, ready for the return of the city of light. Let us be prepared to face the divine judgment, knowing that in the end, God's justice and mercy will prevail. And may we find hope in the knowledge that, even in our moments of struggle, the reawakening of Armada promises a future of redemption and restoration, where heaven and earth will once again meet in perfect harmony. As we come to the end of this journey, the story of Armada stands before us not just as a forgotten city, but as a symbol of something much greater, something eternal. Armada was once a place where divine light shone brightly, a city created by God to reflect His glory, where angels, the watchers, were tasked with guiding humanity. Yet in the face of temptation, this city, like many before it, fell into the darkness of rebellion. The angels chose their own desires over the divine commandment, crossing a line that would forever change the course of history. Armada became a mirror to the cosmic struggle between good and evil, between freedom and responsibility. Its gates were sealed, not in punishment alone, but in preparation, for a future where divine justice would meet mercy. And so, Armada's story is not just one of loss, but of redemption. It is a testament to the divine plan that unfolds through every trial and triumph. Just as the story of the Watchers reflects the choices we make every day, so too does Armada serve as a reminder of the freedom we are granted by God and the responsibility that comes with it. In our lives, we too are faced with decisions, temptations that can lead us astray or keep us on the path of righteousness. Just as the angels of Armada were given the choice between obedience and rebellion, we too are called to choose. Will we follow the divine will? Or will we, like them, let our desires pull us into darkness? As we reflect on the significance of Armada's sealing and its impending awakening, we must ask ourselves, when we face challenges in our own lives, do we remain steadfast in our faith, or do we, like the angels, stray from the path that God has laid before us? The story of Armada is not just a celestial tale, it is a lesson for each of us. It is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there is always the opportunity for redemption, for the divine light to shine once again, no matter how far we may have fallen. This is a story of hope, one that reminds us that no matter how far we stray, there is always a chance for us to return to the light. Armada may have been sealed, but it was never abandoned. It remained hidden for a time, just as we may sometimes feel hidden or distant from God, but the time of its awakening is near. And with it, the chance for a new beginning, both for the city of Armada and for each of us who choose to embrace the divine plan. So, as we await the return of Armada, let us prepare our hearts for the day when the gates will open once again. Let us reflect on our own lives, on the choices we make, and on the responsibility that comes with the freedom we have been given. Just as Armada was a place of divine justice and mercy, so too are we called to live lives that reflect those same values. In the coming days, let us be vigilant, ready to witness the fulfillment of God's plan, knowing that the City of Light will once again shine, and that we, as part of this grand story, are invited to walk in that light. If you've enjoyed exploring this divine mystery with us, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us on this incredible journey through the hidden truths of the Bible. We have so much more to uncover together. Don't forget to share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. We love hearing from you and discussing these profound spiritual matters. Your insights may just be the spark someone else needs to open their eyes to the deeper mysteries of our faith. Armada's story is not just about the fall of the angels, it is also a lesson of salvation and forgiveness. Just as God led us out of darkness, so too will Armada be revealed to bring light to those who are worthy. It is a powerful reminder that no matter how far we've fallen, there is always room for redemption in God's grace. And when Armada opens its gates once more, it will be a place of refuge for the faithful and a final reckoning for the rebellious. Prepare your soul for the miracles that are yet to come. The story of Armada is far from over. It is a journey that speaks of the eternal struggle between light and darkness, and the divine promise that in the end, light will always prevail. Keep your hearts open, your faith strong, and let us walk together into the divine light that awaits us all.